listening to all new Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. We got a lot to get into today, right? Trying to drum up hype for the Super Bowl, which really doesn't need any hype, really, but it kind of does. Because there is a certain undercurrent of, man, Patriots again. We are tired of seeing them. That's a fact, right? I am rooting for the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I have no look. My loyalties and my allegiances are shifty at best. I root for my team and therefore against all of my rivals, and I don't really care who I have to root for to do it. I don't like the Patriots, right? I've been put in the unfortunate situation where I have to like them because I hate the Eagles. I absolutely detest the Eagles. I don't want the Eagles to win a Super Bowl, ever. Like, never. They've never won one. Feels good. I like that. I would like that to continue being a fact. And I understand that there's a group of people that you root for the underdog. And most of America, by the way, is rooting for the underdog. I'll post the map on Facebook. But the map of the United States indicating who is rooting for the Eagles and who is rooting for the Patriots. This is literally what the map shows, right? Because I'm a Redskins fan. I'm from Washington, D.C. The people rooting for the Eagles is just about everybody in America. The people rooting for the Patriots are the people of Massachusetts, which makes sense because that's where the Patriots were located. And we got a call here, but caller, you're on the air. Hello. All right. Well, looks like we lost that one. But what I wanted to say was that you have everybody in America rooting for the Eagles, except for the people of Massachusetts and the city of Dallas, where Cowboys fans are, and they hate the Eagles, and the city of Washington, D.C., where all the Redskins fans are, and they hate the Eagles, right? I'm surprised more people from New York aren't in on this as well, considering the Giants are also in the NFC East. But that's neither here nor there, right? So one of the things that I find to be deeply fascinating about this is how many people have just decided, well, you know what? The Patriots are the evil empire, and we're going to root against them. And that is the big draw of sports, right? Like, we need teams like the Patriots in sports. As much as you don't like them, as much as they've got the history of the cheating, Spygate, Deflategate, like all the modern NFL scandals that aren't about domestic abuse. I mean, the Patriots are involved in all of those, right? Like, if they're not involved criminally with something, the Patriots are involved in doing anything they can to absolutely get an advantage. That's what they're about. So yeah, no, we've got some Super Bowl stuff to talk about. I've also got Globetrotter tickets to give away. Harlem Globetrotter tickets. The Harlem Globetrotters will be in town this Friday at UTC McKenzie Arena, and we got the hookup for you. We've got tickets to give away for you. This is the final hour that you can get these tickets for today. You can call this show. Our phone number is 423-800-8949, 423-800-8949 for your chance to win some Harlem Globetrotter tickets. See the Globetrotters. And I remember when I was a kid, the Globetrotters came to my school when I lived in Maryland as a kid. And that was the coolest thing that could have happened. Because, I mean, when you're a kid playing basketball, especially in a city like Washington, D.C., which we lived right near there. We were just outside of D.C. When you live in that city, basketball is the biggest sport. Right? I mean, people take football very seriously down here, but basketball is the biggest sport up there, right? Like, I lived in Prince George's County, where Kevin Durant's from. Like, that is the biggest sport. And yeah, when the whole Harlem Globetrotters came to our school, They were doing things with a basketball we've never seen, and you go home and you just try and do it. Right? And you try and learn to be a better ball handler and learn to be a better basketball player just because they showed up. Now, the thing is, too, that they taught us a lot of things about hard work, right? Like the idea that you could get to be as good as the Globetrotters at basketball. A lot of it has to do with the fact that, yeah, they work really hard at the set of skills that they have, and they will put them on display for you, right? And you can pay to go in if you want to, but we're giving you the tickets for free. And all you have to do, $28 value. And we're giving it away for free. All you have to do is call. Right? And why are we doing this? Just to say thanks for listening. That's it. Just thanks. We appreciate that you guys listen. So 423-800-8949 to get your pair of Harlem Globetrotter tickets. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on all new Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. So one of the big news stories that I feel bad about, because I feel that I have not necessarily gone into it as much as I should have and as much as I could have, involves a Team USA gymnastics doctor, Larry Nassar. And I'm sure you've heard the story already because he is on trial for basically the allegations of sexual abuse laid against him by nearly 100, if not 100, Team USA gymnasts, right? And a lot of these women describe what Larry Nassar did to them as predatory, and he seems to have some idea of his wrongdoing. Because one of the things that I read today, and it blew me away that this was even possible. One of the things that I read today, Larry Nassar wrote a letter to the judge to say that he couldn't handle listening to all of the victim statements. Right? He wasn't sure he would be able to mentally handle hearing the victims tell their statements in front of him. And I just find that to be absolutely absurd. You did not have a problem mentally handling it when you were committing the crime. But the moment someone has to tell it back to you and tell you the harm that you caused and the damage that you've done, you can't take it? You can't take it? Look, no, you don't get to slide away on that one. There is a certain level of me that is against the death penalty, because I think that people should sit and think about their crimes, right? Like, they should think about what it is that they have done, and they should think about it for however long they're sentenced to prison, which I believe for Larry Nassar is going to be 60 years in prison. At least, right? Just on the child pornography charges for him, that's going to be 60. Right? And he pleaded guilty to a number of the sexual assault charges as well. And so for him, yeah, he's done. So a part of the punishment does come with hearing the damage that you've caused. You don't get to get away easy on this one. You don't get to slide away. You don't get to not hear what you've done. If you didn't have a problem committing the crime, then go ahead and own it. Right? Take the entire punishment. Right? It's like that young woman that got tossed out of Alabama the other day because she just had all of those racial slurs that she unleashed on MLK Day of all days. Right? And she didn't make one, she made 2 videos. And then afterwards, you're like, hey, I'm not racist and I didn't mean it. Yeah, okay. One video of awful racist jokes. One video is poor judgment. 2 videos in which you say in the second video that you meant everything that you said in the first video. yeah, we got to get you out of the paint, man. And you don't get to be sorry after you did it, because that's being sorry that you got caught. That's the same way I feel about Larry Nassar here. He's not sorry in the realm of, well, what I did was wrong. Because in all of those situations, here's what I would strongly prefer. Be sorry before you do something like that, and then don't do it. How about that? Be sorry before you sexually assault a bunch of gymnasts. Be sorry before you make all of those people have to go through levels of trauma at a very young age, because gymnasts are young by nature. Your body is more flexible in your teens than it is when you're older. Even if you're in your 20s, like most gymnast careers are ending early 20s. You're just never going to be as flexible again. Like, you're at the height of your powers. You're in your prime when you're 18, 19 years old. So for Larry Nassar to do what he did to all of these young girls and women, he doesn't get to slink away. He doesn't get to hide. Right? And the judge agreed, by the way, because his letter was absolutely ignored. And he had to sit there and he had to hear the stories upon stories upon stories. Right? Because at this point, according to USA Today, more than 140 women and girls have said that he has abused them. 140. At no point in those 140 people do you feel bad enough to stop. So you're going to listen to all of them. Every single last one. Absolutely. You do not get to hide. There's nowhere for you to go on that. There's nowhere for you to go. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. And we have a local story about an East Hamilton basketball coach. Sam Jordan was talking about this before I came on Sports Talk with Sam Jordan, which was a story to me that just floored me. Right? And essentially, it's the basketball coach of East Hamilton High School. He's been suspended. Ronnie English is the head coach, because he had a confrontation with a parent. Right? And it was a verbal confrontation, according to WRCBTV.com, Channel 3. It was a verbal confrontation. It never got physical, but, quote, inappropriate things were said about a player's family, end quote. And I don't know what causes that to happen. I don't know. I don't want to place blame anywhere necessarily, because I do think that we do have a culture in sports, especially at the high school and college level, where parents are very involved. Very involved. And I don't necessarily want to paint this parent out to be, LeVar Ball or something. It's because I don't know them and I don't necessarily know all the details of the situation. But it's pretty scary that you could end up with a situation where a parent and a coach end up exchanging words on that level. Right? And the only reason why I invoke the name of LeVar Ball is because LeVar Ball, at least until recently anyway, had a son in high school and did get into an altercation with the head coach. And a lot of it was disagreements on playing style and disagreements on how the son was going to be used in the game. And there are some similarities there, right? Because parents do get very vocal about this. But I will say this, and I say this as a non-parent, so take what I have to say with a grain of salt, obviously. But if you are a parent and you send your kid to a school, you got to let the coach do their job, right? Like, if you don't like the way that the coach is coaching, the most that you should be doing is moving the kid to another school. Like, that's the most that you can do. That is the actual extent of your power. How you end up in a position where you're exchanging words with the coach of the team is alarming to me, right? And I don't know exactly what recourse coaches even have to defend themselves. I will say that you cross the line when you start to say things about someone's family, right? Like, that's obvious. And I find it hard to believe that Coach English would have been dismissed had he said something, had he maintained his cool, had he remained reasonable, right? And had he not crossed that line. Because you do cross that line where you start talking about someone's family. There are reasons, I think, that you fight people, right? I'm 27 at this point. I've learned, right? First off, my hothead days are behind me. Not that I have very many of those, but they're behind me. I don't fight, right? Like, the last fight I had was middle school. Because you can talk stuff through if you really want to, or you learn that. But there are still reasons to fight people. If you go after someone's religion, you go after someone's race, if you go after someone's family, and they choose to fight you, don't be shocked. Try not to be surprised by that as a fact. It's happening. Right? Like, that's just, those are lines that run deep. They run absolutely deep, especially your family. Right? Because when you talk about race and religion, that for a lot of people is not something that you chose, right? Like, some people choose their religion, but some people, you just grew up in it. Some people, that's just, you were raised to be X, Y, and Z, right? Like, I was raised to be Adventist. So I grew up in it. Like, some of it is a choice that I have to keep doing it. But there's a certain level of it that I didn't choose to start this. That runs pretty deep because it is tied to my family. But your family, right? Like, those are the people that you know the most intimately and the most personally. And if someone crosses the line in talking about that set of people, you know, if you lose it, you try not to, but if you do, it's hard to blame somebody. And so, yeah, Coach English should not have crossed that line, and does deserve the suspension for that. But I think that there is a certain point at which coaches do need a recourse from parents who do light into them on these issues, right? Like, there needs to be a separation of the parents and the coaches, especially if a parent is coming to the coach after the game, and Sam Jordan before this asked this same question: where was security? Because that's when you're most likely to have a confrontation that works out for nobody, is right after the game. The emotions are still hot. Losses feel bad all the time. And you do and say things in that moment that you don't necessarily, if you were more calm, even you wouldn't agree with you. You don't necessarily mean the things that you're saying. You don't mean the things that you're doing, but you're hot. Right? In those moments, I mean, you gotta have security. You've got to keep the parents away from the coaches. You've got to keep the parents away from the refs sometimes. It's not a good spot to be in. It's not a fun spot to be in. When angry parents decide they want to tell you a thing or two about a thing or two. It always seemed to me to be a difficult spot, right? I played basketball very briefly in high school. I mean, very briefly. I wasn't good at all. Mostly because I was, 5'6", maybe 110 pounds, soaking wet. And I couldn't possibly have helped that team, right? They liked the way that I tried very hard. I was Rudy. So, yeah, that was where it was. And I saw parents go after the basketball coach in ways that didn't seem appropriate and didn't really seem like a good example for their own children. And I understand that parents, like, this is as important to them. If your child has a dream of realizing sports at a certain level, at the college level, at the pro level. You see everyone as possibly standing in the way of that dream. So I get it. But I also don't think that yelling at the coach is going to solve the problems in the way that you think they're going to solve them at all. You're listening to All New Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. Here on 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me. We've got a loaded show. We've got some more NFL stuff and maybe a little bit of boxing news. Next.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
Authorities say 16 students aboard a school bus in Georgia were taken to the hospital after the bus rolled onto its side. Some students suffered minor injuries. The students were from Clear Creek Middle School. A storage unit burst into flames in Hamilton County. Firefighters responded to a home on Taft Highway just after 9 p.m. Officials say an old house used for storage caught fire. Nobody was inside. No injuries have been reported, and the cause of the fire is under investigation. New details in the Holly Bobo trial. Defendant Dylan Adams entered what is called an Alfred guilty plea on Monday, which means he does not admit guilt, but does admit that it would be in his best interest to plead guilty. Miss Bobo was just 20 when she was raped and murdered in 2011. Her remains weren't found until 3 years later. Dylan faces up to 35 years in prison. Al St. John, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 News, now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Runt and Bow, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM.
Oh man, rush. I've got to get stuff for the party. Where can I go? It's going to give me a wide selection of beer, wines, and spirits. Oh, I got it. I'll go to Harry's Wine and Spirits, Signal Mountain. Maybe East Brainerd Wine and Spirits in East Brainerd. I could go to Riley's Wines and Spirits in Hickson. Wow, look at the huge selection in here. Look at these great prices. Amazing. Oh yeah, I'm going to find something for my lady too. I'm going to make this party a success.
Make your party a success when you stop in at Harry's Wine and Spirits in Signal Mountain, East Brainerd Wine and Spirits in East Brainerd, and Riley's Wine and Spirits in Hickson. An automated nuclear missile defense system has suddenly entered into launch mode, and you are the only one who can stop it.
Escape Experience Chattanooga.
Your team has just been infected with a deadly virus. Your only hope, there, in an abandoned farmhouse.
Escape Experience Chattanooga.
Handcuffed in a maximum security prison, you have an hour to flee.
Escape Experience Chattanooga.
These escape scenarios and more at Chattanooga's best escape room, game, and team building platform. Call now. Slots are limited. Register online at escapeexperience.com/Chattanooga. Escape Experience Chattanooga.
If your computer is running slow, if you have viruses, if someone called you asking to get into your computer, just say no. If a screen pops up on your computer saying your data is going to be deleted and you have to call this number, don't call it. You need to call Affordable Computers. You wouldn't invite a stranger to come to your house to look at all your books and records. So why would you invite someone to look at your records on your computer? With one wrong click of the mouse, you could be allowing access into your entire system. At Affordable Computers, we can stop them now. Don't be fooled by scammers and pop-ups that tell you you must call this number or your hard drive is going to be deleted. You need to call Affordable Computers. Call Affordable Computers now. Microsoft is never going to call you. Microsoft is never going to ask you to call them. If you see that on your screen, you are being scammed. Stop and call Affordable Computers. 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975. In Fort Oglethorpe, call 706-858-5888. That's 706-858-5888. Affordable Computers.
95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM.
Expect fair to partly cloudy skies to continue through your nighttime. Cold overnight, lows mid and upper 20s. Now for your Wednesday, look for some sunshine with a breeze out of the north, though. Like cold highs, still around 40 with more mainly dry and cold weather expected through Friday. Celebrate the new year with Dixieland Fireworks, locally owned with the largest selection around. A Black Cat dealer with the lowest prices in Dixie. Dixieland Fireworks, just off 575 on Ringgold Road, East Ridge. And I'm 1412, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Report.
Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News, NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at Noogaradio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chatta, Nooga Radio.
You're listening to All New Nooga Radio, Noogaradio.com. Collector with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. And so there's some things happening in the NFL, right? Like, we're going to see the quarterback carousel move around a little bit this year. We see it happen a lot, right? Because you have guys that'll have standout years. They'll move somewhere, and either they're successful and they continue their story, or they fade away, right? Like, we've seen it with Josh McCown in recent years. He had a good year with the Browns, I believe. Was it the Browns or was it the Bears? I get my McCowns mixed up. But, then he wound up on the Jets, and he wasn't bad, but he wasn't good either, right? He was just a very average quarterback. And we're starting to see that happen a little bit with Case Keenum. Case Keenum has options of where he'd like to go. It's interesting because the Vikings started off as a team with 3 quarterbacks, right? Like, Teddy Bridgewater was not a plausible option at the beginning of the year. But you thought, well, maybe Sam Bradford can hold down the fort long enough for Bridgewater to get back. And then Teddy Bridgewater, who was making strides and growing as a quarterback, maybe Bridgewater can do some things for you. And then Bradford gets injured. You get Case Keenum. Case Keenum takes the job and does such a good job that even when Bridgewater is healthy, there's no reason to play Bridgewater. None. It's more risky to say, hey, this guy that came off of reconstructive knee surgery on possibly the most horrific injury that I've ever heard of. I didn't see it. Again, it was a non-contact practice injury. So we don't have any photos of the injury. And maybe thank God for that. Because players saw the injury happen live and threw up. One player described Teddy Bridgewater's knee as being close to his hip, which I don't even know how biologically that happens. Right? The injury was so bad that, quote, his knee was near his hip. I mean, I don't even know how that happens. So, yes. Do you trust Bridgewater, who came off of that injury? Or do you keep going with Keenum, who was playing well up until this past Sunday, where he probably had the worst game of the year at the worst possible time to have the worst game of his year? Because he's still going to be a high commodity, right? We are in the point in the NFL where everybody knows you need to have a good quarterback to win. You don't need a great one, right? Like, because there's multiple ways to get to a Super Bowl. You just need a good one. A good one and a great defense. Right? Like, Blake Bortles for much of the year this year played like a good quarterback. And they have a great defense. And even when he played like a bad quarterback, that defense covered a lot. Right? Like, that defense covers up an awful lot. You just need a guy who's good. And so what happens to Keenum? Right? What happens to Bridgewater, who thought, well, if Bridgewater is the starter, I think Bridgewater maybe tries to stick around in Minnesota. But I think Bridgewater learned a little bit about his disposability. And so, yeah, you want to test yourself on the free agent market. We know that people pay too much for quarterbacks because you have to. You don't have a choice. If you have a bad quarterback in the National Football League, you are dead in the water. End of story. I don't care what your defense looks like. You're dead. Right? So I look at this as a situation where obviously, I am a huge fan of going after a solid quarterback who had a good year. Because if you draft the guy, you've got to wait for him to develop. You don't know what the ceiling is going to be. The draft is random and scary, but we've seen quarterbacks have a good year and then fall off. I mean, we've seen it over and over and over again. So, like, there's a cautionary tale to be had there as well. But if you feel like your team is close, if you feel like you've been building up your defense and you're really just a piece or two away, going after Keenum, going after Bridgewater, going after Bradford, because the Vikings could lose all three of their quarterbacks in a way that is alarming and go from being a Super Bowl contending team to God even knows what. They could easily be the one-hit wonder of a team, because I think that when they have a good quarterback, they're the best team in that division. They're better than the Lions, even though the Lions have Stafford. They're better than the Packers, even though the Packers have Rodgers. And they're better than the Bears. They're just a better developed, more well-built team with superior coaching. They're just missing that quarterback spot. And they don't have time to draft a guy and let that guy develop. They need somebody who can play now. And also, what's the deal with Bortles? Right? Like, if you're Jacksonville, what do you do with Blake Bortles? Because Blake Bortles played easily this past season, the best season of his career, and it was okay. Right? Like, if this year is an outlier year for Blake Bortles, and the real Blake Bortles is the guy that we've gotten to know for the previous 4 seasons of his NFL career, do you even pay that guy? Right? Do you pay him? Because I don't think you pay him. You've built yourself a defense. You've built yourself a nightmare of a defense. Because we're talking about guys who can stop the run. We're talking about guys who get to the quarterback. We're talking about cover corners. Jalen Ramsey's turned out to be absolutely locked down. Right? Looking like the second coming of Darrelle Revis. Like, there's a lot of things that he does that reminds me of prime Revis. Him and Marshawn Lattimore in New Orleans with the Saints. So, like, you've built this defense, and you know you've got to pay the defense. And we've seen this happen. We've seen it in Seattle. You build up this great defense, and then when it comes time to pay the defense, you realize, like, I can't pay everybody on this defense. Now, fortunately for the Seahawks, Russell Wilson went from being a good quarterback to being a great one in that span of time. He went from being the game manager that got them to the Super Bowl to being the elite, transcendent, game-changing type of quarterback that he is now. He wasn't always that. That helps. That helps in so many ways. And you can't underestimate that transition. But you look at a team like the Denver Broncos, who I think, for all intents and purposes, has still one of the better defenses in the league, and it doesn't mean anything because they cannot find a quarterback at all. I mean, you talk about your defense never getting off the field. The Denver Broncos are a clinic in what your team looks like when your team never gets off the field. The good defensive games that they had were also good offensive games. You need balance in this game or you can't win. And that means you need a quarterback, even if your defense is good. Even if your defense is great, you need a quarterback. Right? And we saw this with Jacksonville, because I think Jacksonville beats New England if the quarterback is better than Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles played arguably the best game of his season. Right? 150 yards, 1 touchdown, no turnovers, making big plays when he had to. But in the fourth quarter, when you had to have it, you couldn't get it from Bortles. You just couldn't. When you absolutely needed it to happen, you couldn't get it from him. Because he's not an elite quarterback. Right? He's not even an average quarterback. He's below average quarterback. And when you have a guy who's a below average quarterback who has to feel the weight, he has to feel the weight of the Super Bowl trip on his shoulders. Can he do it? He couldn't do it. I don't care how good your defense is. If that guy is your quarterback and Brady is on the other sideline, you don't win. I don't care how good your defense is. But if Case Keenum is going to implode the way that Case Keenum imploded, you don't win. You don't. And there's not much of a discussion to have after that. You merely cannot win. Clutch with Keon Rose on all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. 92.7 FM. We are giving away tickets to the Harlem Globetrotters. You've got about 10 minutes left here. 10 minutes. We're giving away tickets. $28 value. They're free. You just have to call in 423-800-8949. Call in and then kind of come pick up your tickets before Friday. They're playing at the McKenzie Arena. UTC McKenzie Arena. This Friday. It's fun for the whole family to enjoy. I've seen the Globetrotters before. It is an absolutely fun and brilliant experience. You will enjoy it. And there was a question earlier from the gentleman who called in and won the tickets for the last hour as to whether or not there were women on the Globetrotters. There are 3 women on the team. They're all really good. All of them. Yep. So that is an opportunity for you to win. I mean, the Globetrotters are world renowned. They travel everywhere, right? Like the Globetrotters travel to China and Japan and Israel and Europe. And basketball was invented here. Right? Like they're the ambassadors of basketball. That's what they're known as, and rightfully so. Because they're a very good introduction into the game and an introduction into what is possible to do with a basketball. Like things that you've never dreamed of doing with a basketball. And it's fun. It's part game, part comedy routine. I mean, you've never seen anything like it if you haven't gone to see the Globetrotters, but I highly recommend it. And we're giving you the tickets for free. We're giving them to you for free for the next caller that we have. You get in this hour, 423-800-8949. You've got 10 minutes. You're on the clock. Like the draft. So one thing that I find to be fascinating is ESPN trying to figure out how they're going to replace John Gruden. How are you going to replace John Gruden? Because John Gruden's personality in the broadcast booth, that's a hard one to replace. You need a good color commentator. Right? Because I liked Gruden a lot. I think that one of the downfalls of Gruden was that Gruden liked everybody, so Gruden was never critical of anybody. But I like Gruden a lot. He's good at breaking down the game. He's good at sounding like every fan. And it sounds like he's having a blast doing what he's doing. And I think that when you have color commentary, this is what people want. And this is the reason why people don't like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. But I find that broadcasters like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman more than your average fan likes Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Now, a little bit is Joe Buck has a reputation. Joe Buck has a history with being a little bit dry sounding, a little bit boring. But I don't know, for me, Joe Buck is the play-by-play guy. The play-by-play guy does not need to sound like he's having a blast. He needs to do the play-by-play, which Joe Buck does just about as well as anybody in this business, baseball and football. And I dare you to find someone better than Joe Buck, right? Like it's not a long list at all. But Troy Aikman is the guy that's interesting to me because I think while Troy is very good, and you can hear the polish and the experience on Troy, you want to hear Troy get fired up. You want to hear Troy really go in there and sound as excited as you, right? Something absolutely amazing happens, and Troy does not sound like he cares at all. And I know it's not true, but it is what he sounds like. And I think that this is why fans are very critical of Troy Aikman. Again, I have no problem with Troy Aikman. I think that he is a fantastic color commentator. But broadcasters and fans tend to see that divide a little bit differently. And ESPN is trying to figure out how to get Peyton Manning in the broadcast booth, which I think is interesting. Because when we talk about color commentators, I think former players tend to do the best job of it, generally speaking, because they're able to give you insights, right? So first off, former players tend to have an emotional attachment to the game beyond what the play-by-play guy usually has. Not always, right? Because Gus Johnson will take you on the ride of your life. But generally speaking, they have better emotional connectivity to the game, which makes them feel like they understand what you're feeling as a fan. And that's nice. I like that feeling, right? Like, it's one of the reasons why Gruden works. That's one of the reasons why John Madden was always so great, because John Madden coached, so he knew the game. But then John Madden would just get so excited he'd say stuff. Right? Like, he would say things, and they didn't always make sense. But it didn't matter, because John Madden was in it. Just like you. So you don't mind. Right? And that's the thing that I like about Tony Romo, right? Like, Tony Romo could use a little bit of polish, but for a guy on his first year, Tony Romo sounds fantastic as a color commentator. He gives you the insight. He tells you what play is happening before the play happens. And when something absolutely amazing happens, he's as excited as you. All of that's important. Every single level of that is important. And ESPN's trying to get Peyton Manning in the booth. Well, why? Well, Peyton Manning played the game. So he's going to give you insights. He's going to give you insights at a very high level. Another guy, obviously, is Chris Collinsworth. I think Collinsworth, and again, people are critical of Collinsworth. I know Sam Jordan doesn't like Chris Collinsworth, thinks he sounds smug and like a know-it-all. But Collinsworth gives you insight as a guy who played wide receiver in the NFL. And then Chris Collinsworth sounds as excited as you. That's what I want. Right? I like Collinsworth. I think Peyton Manning would be a good fit over on Monday Night Football too. Right? I don't know who you're going to put Peyton with, but does it matter? Here's what we know about Peyton Manning. He knows the game. And he's got a sense of humor that I think a lot of fans will appreciate. And actually, last year, before the Miami Dolphins decided that they were going to make us all watch bad football, and they brought Jay Cutler back from the dead, essentially, to get him to play quarterback for their team. Jay Cutler was supposed to be a color commentator as well. And I would love to have heard Jay Cutler do that. Right? Like, I would prefer Jay Cutler do that than what Jay Cutler actually wound up doing, which was playing football, which I think he needs to stop doing. It doesn't look good, man. What you're doing to the game of football is irrevocably bad, and I have huge problems with it. Well, Jay Cutler needs to quit. It looks bad. It feels bad to watch him. Jay Cutler's the guy that felt like he was over the hill about halfway through his career. No, man. But Jay Cutler would be brutally honest. I would love to have heard that. But Peyton Manning's got a nice, fun personality. Now, here's the issue. Peyton Manning has not shown any interest in broadcasting. None whatsoever. Which tells you that he really doesn't want to do it, because broadcasting is a nice, easy job that will make you a ton of money at that level. For you not to really do much. To talk about football, which you already like. At that level of broadcasting, that's a ton of money. Like, there's a reason why John Gruden never felt the need to go coach until recently. And it's because the money he was making at ESPN to do Monday Night Football, ridiculous for what they were asking him to do, which was not that much. Not that much at all. So no, I don't feel as though Peyton Manning's going to come back, but I like that they're trying to give him a call, because I think that that's brilliant. I think that he would do a great job. So my quick boxing take, is that Vasily Lomachenko, by the way, I think is the best boxer in the world right now. He's not as well known. He fights at a lighter weight class, and he's technically the best boxer. Like, if you've ever seen a guy, he looks like he's in the Matrix. It's the only way to describe it, and that's what people call him the Matrix. He seems to be able to dodge your punches in a way that it looks like they're coming at him in slow motion. I've never seen this before in a boxing ring. in my entire life. Lomachenko is right now my favorite boxer. And Freddie Roach thinks that Manny Pacquiao could beat Vasily Lomachenko. And I don't know how to feel about this because Manny Pacquiao is the reason why I got into boxing in the first place. I loved watching Manny Pacquiao fight. He just had so much heart, and his hand speed is ridiculous. So Manny Pacquiao is the reason I got into boxing in the first place. But Manny Pacquiao's old. He's past his prime. He hasn't been able to beat anybody significant in a very long time, and everything after the Mayweather fight has looked like a wash. Should Manny Pacquiao keep on fighting? And I think that the reason why fans want players to quit, want athletes to quit in sports, is not for them. Right? Like, we're really not that concerned with their legacy, even though we make it about that. It's selfish. We don't want our memory of them to be tarnished. And when you think about it, that's the most selfish thing, really. Here's what I actually think. I think that there's going to be an age where you're not even going to come close to boxing at a very high level. And if you love it, you should keep doing it as long as your body will physically allow you to do it. Because there's going to come a time when you can't at all. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
The pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Around the outside. 20 bullets down. Pops a right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the line. Waiting, watching off. Roche stepping a bit forward wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Here at live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM, 95.3 HD4. The voice of NASCAR. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
Police investigating a shooting on Ryan Street late Monday night. Photos show crime scene tape up around the scene. Chattanooga Police Dispatch told WTBC that one person was shot and rushed to the hospital. The hunt is on for two men accused of robbing a gas station, the Mapco in Ringgold. One man stood at the counter and made demands with a gun, while the other stood by to act as muscle. The two sold cash and cigarettes. We'll post their photos up on our Facebook page. In Marion County, a manhunt is on for Dwayne Halfacre, who's still on the run, accused of robbery. A second suspect, Timothy Howell, has already been arrested. Halfacre is believed to be armed and dangerous. Anyone with any info in his position is asked to call the police. An old home that was used as a storage unit caught on fire on Taft Highway. Walden's Ridge Emergency Services rushed to the scene. Nobody was home and nobody was injured in the blaze. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM.
Expect fair to partly cloudy skies through your nighttime. Chilly overnight, lows near 30. For the midway, lots of sunshine. Seasonal highs tomorrow in the upper 40s to near 50s. Tomorrow night, lows back into the mid-upper 20s. More sunshine in the lower 50s Thursday. The second half of winter could be quite cold, so keep your family toasty warm with Dodge City Ski Shop, featuring the largest selection of cold weather clothing around. From toddlers to adults, that's Dodge City, East Springers Road, Chattanooga, and on stores.
Not making the money you deserve or need an exciting change? If you have radio sales experience, contact me about joining our terrific team here at 92.7 Nooga Radio. We are a hot, get-up-and-go multimedia platform. Creative people, aggressive ideas. On our team, you'll have a wide-open marketplace of all the best accounts. I'm David. Call me at 401-0211. That's 401-0211. Great commissions, excellent prospects, 401-0211.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
So you forgot something that sparkles. A little bit of bling for Christmas? Valentine's is just ahead, so now's your chance to get it right. And Goss Company Jewelers has got you covered. Diamond stud earrings, rings, hoops, necklaces. Go now while you're thinking about it. Let Charlie Goss wait on you. He'll take care of you. Problem solved. Custom diamond studs started under $200. That's 30% off. Goss Company Jewelers behind Chili's on Gun Barrel. That's it. Goss Company Jewelers.
The Harlem Globetrotters will dribble into Chattanooga with their action-packed World Tour at the UTC McKenzie Arena on Friday, January 26th. Witness amazing Globetrotter moments that become unforgettable Globetrotter memories. Feel the dunks, See the ball handling, experience antics that will have kids of all ages laughing the entire time. Don't miss the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters at UTC McKenzie Arena. One day only, playing Friday, January 26th at 7 p.m. Tickets are available at the box office or at harlemglobetrotters.com.
All systems go.
Got a printing project on